Good afternoon, or good morning rather, to Marine Money. Thank you for being here today. I'm excited to share a little bit of a glimpse as to what's been happening to Vessel's value since it's been incorporated into Veson Nautical. I'm also going to give you a preview into some of the recent research we've been doing as a collaboration now with all the brands under that umbrella into what we're seeing in industry trends related to decarbonisation. So thank you for the introduction, Mike. I'm Sophie, Director of Account Management at Veson, but was previously with Vessel's Value, which was the world's first algorithmic valuation platform for the maritime industry. And our goal was there to just disrupt the market and provide transparency around valuations. This was built on a very, very strong database-first approach, which covers over 77,000 vessels. The unique construction and maintenance of that database is what made us an exciting prospect for our new owners. So a little over a year ago, we were acquired by Veson Nautical, a platform that's, and the umbrella of companies underneath it is looking to support all your decision making. The mission is to become the platform that propels maritime commerce. It's an ambitious goal, and it's going to take a long time to get there, but it has already been underway for the last 20 years. With the IMOS platform. So IMOS was a contract and voyage management system that's been using to provide intelligence beyond that contract. We're now combining that with other data-fueled products. So behind, we've got some key stats about sort of the size and the technology of our current community. With, as I say, starting around 1979 is when Veson was originally founded and has only ever been focused on the maritime market. And we already have about 38,000 users of all of our services worldwide. So over the last few years, Veson has strategically acquired several companies, as you might have heard about, and we are looking to grow a solution portfolio. These acquisitions included Vessel's Value, Q88, Ocean Bolt, and then most recently ShipFix earlier this year. At first glance, they might seem a little bit unrelated and operating in slightly different spheres of the industry. However, each acquisition was made with a very strategic purpose. Veson started with the contract, and then this is now starting to apply. What we're now looking to do is apply context to that contract, what's happening in the broader market. And then the final element is that connection, which is where ShipFix and the future development that we are working on is going to create what we hope is a much more communicative and collaborative environment. So in today's industry, there is a sort of overwhelming amount of data. So these are the platforms that support our data intelligence side of the industry. So what we're finding is there is a huge amount of it, but weirdly very little information to actually derive from it. So where do you even start? So are you using numerous sources? Is it good or bad data? Is it being verified? How is it being collected? All of these are really important things that we spent a lot of time and energy making sure we are conscious of. And at Veson, we recognize the importance of trying to navigate this sea of data. So we want to focus on only surfacing the specific elements that drive your business, no matter where you fit in the industry. We're aiming to provide data in the context, helping you navigate what you need to make your trading decisions. So since the acquisition, one of the first examples of how these companies are all working really well together to help collect, verify, and use vessel specifications is using our CII analysis. So we're going to look here at some of the real-world examples that we can already start to see in terms of impacts on valuation and liquidity thus far. A little reminder for what CII is. It's a carbon intensity indicator that is ranking vessels from A to E based on their compliance and how much carbon they are emitting. IMO's target is to achieve a 40% reduction in AER by 2030, meaning vessels that are banded in D and E must look to change the way they're either trading or have retrofitting in some way. So that is going to either impact their capital investment or it's going to impact their profitability effectively. So how we've looked at doing this analysis, just to give you a little bit of an overview, we're looking at mainly the transactions that have been sold over the last few years to monitor liquidity, and then also see the price differentials between where the CII score would have, we believe, had an impact on those values. A little bit about the vessel's value algorithm specifically. So we use a 5-factor algorithm to create a market value, which uses age, size, type, market sentiment, and features of that vessel. And then to create our CII score, we use the vessel specification data, combine that with AIS data to be able to give a score that uses the IMO's official formula. Since the vessel's value is currently determined without considering that CII grading, this is why we've been able to do this analysis to look at the residuals between the grade to determine independent effect of CII. So, starting with some valuation impacts. So this is looking at a combined look on the bulkers, tankers, and containers. So what we can already start to see in just the transactions in 2023 is a premium is starting to show for Band A vessels. Additionally, the discount is starting to come present of around 2% for D and 1% for E, respectively. We're also seeing that this trend is looking to, that this premium is looking to increase for A and B over time and decrease for D and E. We're surprised to have seen such an impact already in 2023, I must say, because of the external market shocks that have occurred with the container and tanker market. So we were surprised to see that this was the case. We're noticing that the premium is only apparent, specifically apparent in younger ships as well, showing the 5.3% difference between A and E bands, with a falling premium between B and C, and a similar discount for D. Modelling this data also allowed us to forecast a future premium, and we're suspecting that a premium of about 4% for Band A vessels will be apparent by 2026. So the trends in bulk carriers particularly are very pronounced, with about a 4.1% premium already occurring for Band A vessels, and this is increasing over time. Modelling the premium of bulk carriers in Band A, we are forecasting it to increase by 6% for Band A vessels by 2026. Due to the tanker market experiencing considerable shocks following the Russian invasion of Ukraine, driving focal increases in purchases for the older tankers, but despite that, we are still seeing a trend developing. While overall values across the period are relatively flat as a result, a similar trend of low emission premium and high emission discount is emerging. Our forecast then reflects that the variance of data but indicates an expected premium of about 3.5% for Band A over E by 2026. So the second half of this analysis is on the liquidity impact. So the other looking at market liquidity faces the number of vessels that have been sold or are changing hands as by proportion of the number of the scores in that sector. So last year, 10% of all bulker, tanker, and containers were sold. And so within that, we were able to see that Band E vessels are showing the lowest liquidity at 7%, and Band C vessels the most liquid at 12.3%. Interestingly, E and A are showing the lowest. So what we're seeing on sort of both ends of the market is a lower liquidity compared to the middle. Liquidity of Band E has lagged behind other grades over the past 5 years, and this effect is seen across vessel ages, but particularly notable in the younger vessels also. Mid-band vessels show the highest liquidity overall, while Band A and B vessels are most liquid in the youngest age categories. A market in equilibrium should show similar levels of liquidity across all grades as prices adjust to the market clearing levels. There is currently a degree of market failure from these emission brandings, and most impacted are vessels in the A and E categories, showing a much lower liquidity. We suspect that owners of Band E vessels are relatively less willing to sell at a decreased price, and the buyers of Band A are less willing to accept that premium at this point. As the market adapts, we expect liquidity to even out and the new market price to level. And lastly, I wanted to highlight a trend we are seeing amongst the younger vessels, specifically those less than 10 years old, from our top 5 ship-owning nations. A clear trend is emerging, and a priority is being placed on vessels that are A and B rated as a percentage of their owned fleet. We believe this is not a coincidence, and a clear strategic approach is being taken here. So a couple of the key takeaways for you here. The cost of necessary investment and earning potential on these markets is starting to feed into the vessel's valuation. And while the market shocks are capable of overriding the effects, the trend is persisting. A&E bands have a lower liquidity, and they both represent greater uncertainty. However, younger vessels show the clearest signs of emerging trends. However, market liquidity at both ends has yet to fully catch up. A mature market will see liquidity evened out and further price adjustments to compensate. And as it does, we are expecting an even further differentiation between an impact on valuations. Veson will look forward to being at the forefront of ensuring accuracy around this data to help inform your decision making. Please do not hesitate to let me know if you have any questions about any of the data or the products within Veson. And thank you to our friends at Marine Money for having us today.